my name is Mitra. Today is February 10th, 2021, and I'm going to be doing a new moon reading for you. And I'm going to be using the Dark Days Tarot because the new moon is dark. And this deck is sort of based on that concept. If you didn't know that the moon cycles are associated with women and fertility, they are. Like many things in nature, there is a natural cycle and a correlation between, the cycles of the moon phases and also animals and our fertility and all of that. So there are many reasons why there are mystery schools and traditions around the new moon and the full moon as they help us track time. Of course, these days, not all of us sleep under the stars or are as influenced by the subtleties because we have technology and indoor lighting and our schedules are a little bit different. But the tradition remains the same, and so this is the deck I'll be using for today. So let's see, as I go through this, I'm just going to cover some of the basics of every reading that I do. The introductions. One is there's lots of dogs in my house, and you can see one of them hanging out on a spot right there. So if you hear any strange barking or whining in the background, it is dogs. And second, tarot is, in my mind, a self-reflective tool. And so this is an opportunity for you this month to kind of take a moment to yourself, listen to my voice as a form of guided meditation. And if you can be in a quiet space where you can focus on yourself and your own feelings, that would be ideal because you will likely have responses to what you're listening to and what you're looking at. And those responses are what are going to be very helpful for you when something resonates with you and you think, yeah, that's right. Or when something really irritates you, that's also very helpful information. As they say, our triggers are our treasures because they teach us what things we need to really overcome and let go of. What else do I usually say in the beginning of these readings? I do live readings every Saturday on Twitch. Thanks for everyone who's been really supportive in that community. So if you have any particular questions or you want to talk to me in person, come hang out on Twitch. I do all my readings by donation. I'm an artist, and I love collecting tarot cards. You can see a whole bunch of them behind me. And I like making my own cards. I like teaching people about symbology and art and understanding materials. I have a bachelor's degree in fine art with an emphasis in painting, which is heavily from the Kansas City Art Institute, which is heavily like a curriculum heavily based on materials from the fine art perspective. And then I have a master's degree in the humanities with an emphasis in depth psychology, which is like right in alignment with tarot and cards and symbolism and understanding your internal mind. And so, yeah, that's where I'm coming from when I read the cards. And so now you know what there is to know about me. I've gone through the deck. This one is square. You might notice it's square, which means that when it's shuffled, it can get a little confusing because it's hard to tell up from down or right from up. So this will be my deck of cards for today's reading. And I do have a singing bowl here with kind of a face in the middle. So like I said, this is an opportunity for you to be quiet, to meditate, to reflect. So I'll just take a moment where I stop talking. All right. So the new moon is in the sign of Aquarius, and we are entering into the age of Aquarius from the age of Pisces. The years 2020 and 2021 have a lot of very significant astrology to them. I love astrology and I'm familiar with it, but this is just my reading is going to focus on the tarot. And because new moons are about planting seeds for what we want to create, it is recommended in your own personal life or your own personal practice to take a moment and to be in gratitude for what it is that you are inviting and receiving. So some of the things might be like, thank you so much for delivering an amazing tarot reading on the new moon that connected me to new information and helped me plant the seeds that blossomed into a beautiful garden. So there's a recommendation to into fantasy at this time during this reading, to imagine that you already have the things that you want. Like, for example, not that they're in front of you, but to say you've placed an order, like it's been ordered on Amazon, it's been paid for, they have your address, and it's in transit. It will arrive to you at some point. So during this moment, there is this fantasy that what you desire is in transit and it's en route to you. So feel gratitude knowing that what you have ordered is en route. Now, it doesn't have to be physical things like something that you can buy on Amazon. It can also be related to your health. It can be related to your relationships. It can be related to collective. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So this is a collective reading for the new moon. And the question is, the cards, we'll just see what the cards want to say for the new moon tarot. The dogs are getting interested in something. So I'm going to do a Celtic cross, which is one card in the center. One that crosses it. And then we have kind of like a clockwork around, and then 4 up the side. So, yes. So first we're just going to look at the cards, and if you know something about tarot, then this is an opportunity for you to kind of like check in, because you might know the cards. They're different from the standard image, but they do communicate some of the same feeling. And if you don't know anything about tarot, this is still a great opportunity, because you can have what is called personal associations with the image, which means that it might have personal significance for you, not collective significance that you have to study and that you've researched it. It's significant to you because it's meaningful to you. So it's like, oh, my daughter loves mermaids, and I'm thinking about my daughter, and this card has a mermaid on it. So when you're looking at the pictures, just notice what personal associations come up for you. And then again, also your feelings about it. Like, oh, my daughter loves mermaids. There's a picture of a mermaid, and I love my daughter, so I feel really great. Or I miss my daughter, so I feel lonely, or any type of those. They just take note of it. And so this is interactive in the sense that just look and witness yourself as we go through them. Okay. Let's look at the world, the sun, the star, the Five of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, the moon, the Ace of Swords, the Page of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Four of Cups. All right. So what does this mean for a new moon reading? Trying to put these things together. So the way I read cards is just kind of like what jumps out at me. And to have the world as the overall card seems very significant because, like I said, this is a new moon in Aquarius. So this is the beginning or the planting of seeds for what has been this transition from a very long age in Pisces to an age in Aquarius. And if you're not sure what that means, the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius, it's kind of like we have a year cycle, which is based on the amount of time it takes the Earth to go around the sun. And in a similar sense, astrologers look at the stars and have this larger kind of like cycle that I think I'm not, you can look it up if you want the details, but it's sort of like more of a solar system, total solar system cycle. So it lasts many, many years. The world as the overall card is significant for this new moon in reference to this idea of the ending of a cycle. So this new moon is really reminding us that there are huge transitions. If you think about we think about we celebrate the day that we're born. So it's like a 24-hour period of celebration or time that you consider to be your birthday, because, and that's measuring 1 year. So how much is the transition from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius? It doesn't happen in an hour or a moment or an instant. It happens gradually over a period of time. And so, in the tarot, the world is the last card in the major arcana, and then you start back at the Fool. So anytime we go through these moments of transition, it's important to acknowledge that we will be feeling a bit pulled in two directions. The part of us that has felt very comfortable in the known, the way things have been done, and they've always been done, but they're not really working anymore. And the new, which nobody really knows because it hasn't been done before. So this world energy is the overarching energy. And then I'm going to move to these two cups in the center, which is the Eight of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. So this kind of goes back to reinforce what I was just saying regarding our feelings, where we may be all focused on the loss. Really kind of, this woman, this mermaid is sitting on the moon, and she kind of looks like she is drowning herself in booze, you know, or she's already drank everything that she has. Like, you know, it's kind of like all the bottles are empty, and she's just trying to get those last bits of wine out of the bottle, and she's waiting there, but there's just a drop. However, in the sun behind her is a completely full glass. So, she's not noticing the fact that there's an offering of a full glass of wine sitting behind her. So this is someone that, this idea, like I was saying, with the transition of being pulled in two different directions, and perhaps not seeing the new, not seeing the opportunities, not noticing what's being offered there in the distance. And then the Eight of Pentacles, so at conflict, or one of the reasons why we might not be able to notice the opportunities is because we're very busy working away. And this woman is working very hard to collect drops of wine, perhaps, she's very intent. It's a lot of work to collect drops of wine. Or this woman is working very hard on her cloth here. So we may be very hyper focused, and that is one of the reasons why we might not be noticing the opportunities. And very legitimately so, it does require a lot of work to make a transition. So I'm also reminded of that as well. So if you feel as if you're really spinning your wheels and working really, really hard, maybe on actual physical things, the Eight of Pentacles suggests actual physical things, like you are busy, just taking care of all those little tiny details. Maybe you feel defeated about it, or you feel as if there's, your emotions are down, which would make sense because of COVID and all of these extra things that we have to do. So there is a silver lining there somewhere. There is an offering of hope. There's some offering there. So maybe we'll look at the rest of the cards here and see what they suggest for this new moon collective reading in the sign of Pisces. So in the unconscious is the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups, again, is you may not be aware of the effort that you're putting into the things in your environment. You may not be aware of the effort that it's taking to maintain everything that's going on in your environment. All the new things that you're having to learn how to do, in a very practical sense, from the medical standpoint, the medical industry, the idea of the pandemic, us becoming hyper aware of a lot of things that we could take very lackadaisical before. Suddenly there's a lot of details that we have to learn, and there's a lot of education going on. So you may not be aware of how much you're learning right now, and learning things is work. And if you're listening to this tarot reading and you've made it this far, then you must be doing pretty good in terms of searching far and wide for the kinds of information and answers that you need, both in yourself and from the external world, in order to navigate this time period. And the past position is the moon itself. So it's always really nice for the moon to show up in the moon's reading. And this seems kind of like an extra little nod from spirit that they're paying attention and that they're playing with the tarot in a fun, magical kind of way, because the moon is associated with the astrological sign of Pisces. And as I was saying earlier, we are moving out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So this archetypal moon cycles and phases of change that it represents is an energy that is moving out. Okay, yes, we know that. All right, thank you. Other things to say about that's, been associated with like patriarchy and institutions, because Pisces is collective energy, is associated with collective and spiritual energy. Sometimes it's also associated with like the Catholic faith or really big religious institutions and dogma and masculinity, and the sort of like birth of different religions like Christianity, which are and the language, which are seen as restrictive structural elements for humanity, came into being around the beginning of Pisces, the age of Pisces. So as we shift into Aquarius, people are saying that those energies are going to become lighter, moving from water to air as a metaphor in the elements. The air is much lighter than water. So anyway, that's moving that. So that's behind us. In the present position is the Ace of Swords. This is in the conscious mind for our present. The Ace of Swords, again, is a nice little nod to what I've been saying along these themes. Swords represent air energy, and the ace is always a new beginning. So we know that we are entering into a new beginning in terms of the element of air with the sign of Aquarius. And what's great about the swords energy is that it has to do with like our thoughts. So we're really going to be thinking differently, speaking differently, because there's a connection between the thoughts and the words. And I wonder whether or not, because technology is now allowing us to communicate through video, we can now speak and communicate. And our speaking is also visual, so the era of the written word being like having to learn language, which is in truth a little bit like, it's wonderful, but now that we can do video, that's better, right? So like suddenly speaking our thoughts and seeing as a form of communication through audio and video transmission has replaced the written word as the dominant form of communication. So this is something that's, again, a transition that's been happening for many years, because these big age transitions are not slow. They're not fast. They take time. So, okay, in the future position, we have the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups is almost like that, that mermaid in the center here who's sitting there and she's like looking at these drops and she doesn't see the full cup behind her. This other mermaid, the Page of Cups in the future, is like, she's like bringing you the cup. She's got it here in her hand and she's bringing it to you. So this Page of Cups in the future, I think, represents that energy of us finally being able to like deliver these messages, of these heartfelt messages to the people who need them. And technology, which is associated with the oncoming age of Aquarius, technology, will allow us to hopefully identify people who need things when they need them, so they get the right messages and the things they need when they need them with more accuracy than we've had before, and also more ease. We won't require them to to do as much, jump through as many hoops, because we can communicate with more ease these days. And that can bring messages and information like help is on the way, and that lifts your spirits. So, yes, I think that's great. All right, so then this card here represents us all at this time, or you or me, and it is the Five of Cups, which is another one of focusing on sorrow. This one's a little bit different. Like the Four of Cups, the one in the center, is sometimes associated with the energy of like a teenager who just like refuses to see what's being offered to them. They're focused on their own thing, and they just can't see what's being offered to them. Whereas the Five of Cups is really sorrow. It's like the river of tears. And I think all of us right now are feeling the grief of the loss. The loss is significant. The loss cannot be denied. The grief is being felt. I don't think I need to go into that too much. It's very obvious. There is tremendous loss right now. It's difficult to even touch on in a reading like this because it's so intense. And so I'm not going to go into it, but I definitely encourage you to take time aside to listen to mantras or meditative music. I'm listening to a new channel called Waves on YouTube that I'm participating in to try and create meditative music. And that's a great way to just like spend an hour or 30 minutes and let all your feelings come up in a safe place where they can just kind of like flow wherever they want to flow. Then here in the next position, we have the Star card. This card represents our current environment, what's surrounding us right now. And guess what astrological sign is associated with the star? Well, if you guessed Aquarius, then you would be accurate. The Star card is associated with the astrological sign of Aquarius. So, yay. Thank you, mysterious universe, for laying out a spread that continues to reinforce its messages through the cards. What is it? Let's see, with the tarot, the Star card is associated with this idea of like renewal and hope. The image is about this kind of like destiny concept, the star in the sky, hope. If you don't like hope, now hope is kind of like an interesting word for a lot of people, and sometimes it can be a little bit triggering because they see hope as being very passive. And then in this reading, I would like to invite you to go back to the original thing I said in the beginning, which is like, hope is not passive. If you imagine that what you need is coming to you and you continue to take risks and work hard and be inspired with determination, that no matter how long it takes, if not today, maybe tomorrow, you continue to use that hope in a very active way in order for you to have the motivation that you need to get up and to continue to take the steps that you need to make your dreams a reality. So I'm using hope in that active sense. So the star is kind of like you having that light, you having that vision, you having that confidence that you know where you're going, you have that guiding light, you have the hope, and that there's something healing about the confidence and the sense of determination and the sense of there's also a desire to it, something worth sacrificing for, something in the future that is coming towards you, that you're going toward it, the next card, the hopes and fear card, I really like for this analogy as well to continue the story, because we have the sun, and I'm thinking of the sun as this star moving so much closer to you, because a star is a sun, but the star is a distant sun. And so I think as this age of Aquarius really comes into being, to go from the star to the sun in this reading is really nice, because it's that we both hope and we fear coming closer to that source, that life-giving, vital source, the sun, because if you get too close to the sun, it's gonna burn you up. And in a certain way, if you think about like the goals that you have in your life, from childhood to different ages, there's something you really desire. But when you achieve that thing that you desire, it is transformative. And so the old you no longer exists. And there is a real big sense of grief and loss. So you both hope and fear that solar energy. So, like, as you come closer to your goals, it's exciting and it is a little bit terrifying, because, and we'll go back to this last one with the world here. This is a big transition. It's not going to be the same. There is grief of letting go of the past, and there is also great excitement and joy represented in the sun here for what's coming in and what's going to be new. And I would add just a little asterisk here for like my own intuitive readings, because we've got the moon and the sun in this reading, which in astrology, we often associate who we are, our identity. Like, I'm a Pisces, or I'm a Virgo, based on our sun sign. And the sun sign is considered masculine. The sun is like masculine energy. And I think that that's kind of interesting, because we've been coming out of the patriarchy, where we've been kind of like swinging toward the dominantly masculine side. And prior to that, we were kind of apparently in goddess culture, which has been largely destroyed. So we were swinging from the moon to the sun to the moon, and then now hopefully we kind of like come, and the age of Aquarius will be the age of the sun and moon. So there's that kind of like, they're equally important, and they are both in this card, in the past and then in the future. And then of course we also have the world, which is very great as the transcendent third thing. Like, oh yeah, the sun's important, the moon is important, and the earth is like equally important. So between the sun, the moon, and the earth, we kind of have a lot of our basic things and needs covered. So this reading has a lot of astrology in it as well, with the star card. So you saw me talking and shuffling and laying these cards out. I find it particularly magical how sometimes the stories just come together in a really perfect and synchronistic way. This is why I love the tarot. This is why I love tarot reading. And this is why I love doing time-based things, because I feel like it's a magical experience. So I hope you've enjoyed this reading. And if you have any comments or questions, please write them down below. You can check out any of my other stuff on tarots.today. And let's see, I'll put links in the bios. I do giveaways every month. You can support me by like buying me a coffee if you want to say thank you, which is great. And let's see, I will write a brief summary of my reading and put that in the links below. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I think this is a great reading for the new moon. I will percolate on it and maybe do like a horoscope type summary down below. So if you're listening to this, you might want to check that out. I'll kind of like summarize it in some nice way that I can't think of right now because I'm being spontaneous. But let's see. Sometimes I want to wait just a second to see if anything else comes through. Look at the bottom of the card. Oh, advice. I think it would be nice to do advice. Yes. So I'm going to, I have, because the oncoming energy was the Page of Cups, and also because I just like doing it, I'm going to pull advice cards from Love Notes from the Universe, which is a wonderful deck. And because we have the mermaids and Therapets. So I have Therapets. This is the Oracle of the Mermaids. Actually, we could do a lot of, because it's a mermaid deck, let's just do mermaids. Because I have a thing for mermaids, and I have a few different decks of mermaids. So let's do some advice and love messages from the mermaids as extra little bonus. Because the future is right now. The future is right now. Whenever you're reading this, you're now future. Okay, so myths and mermaids, oracles of the water. What messages do we have from myths and mermaids, oracles of the water? By Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Oh yes, I have done reviews of all my decks, and those are also on my site. So if you like any of these, you can go check out my whole collection. Well, I'm almost finished publishing them all. And there are tons of wonderful tarot and oracle decks if you are into this type of thing. Okay, this one. So we got Microcosm Sea Monsters. Microcosm Sea Monsters. So this one is about, this one I think is speaking to the Four of Cups and also the Five of Cups that we had in the tarot. So if you are really feeling overwhelmed by nightmares and negative thoughts, you know, one thing is to kind of like bottle those things up a little bit. That's the suggestion here. Bottle them up. All right, let's see what she says in the book. So the number is 35, if that means anything to you. Microcosms, sea monsters. Containment is essential, she said, with a nervous backward glance. Losing these beasties on the earth, an unfortunate happenstance. It requires my utmost resolve to keep these friends bottled up inside. To allow them freedom in this world I simply cannot abide. A melancholy mermaid clutches an alchemical flask. Beside her sits her ultimate creation, a microcosmic world of swirling sea and raging monsters. She is uneasy, however, and expands all of her energy, containing the world. Divination message. Be careful about bottling up your inner demons. On the outside, you are calm, but inside, you are hiding tumultuous emotions. You are wasting a great deal of energy keeping these incensed monsters contained. You are wasting your faculties trying to make everything appear okay on the surface when really you are hurting yourself internally. Resolve what is inside you. Make peace with your past so that you can move forward with goodness and light in your heart. Make peace with your present self, even if it's not ideal. Know that it is within your power to make changes to yourself, but only slowly and with great effort. Take steps to change what you can and make peace with what you cannot. When your interior finally reflects your exterior, you will at least be ready to face the world. So, if you're into psychology like me, I would add to that a little bit more regarding trauma. So if you have gone through a traumatic experience or you are going through a traumatic experience, sometimes we actually, the psyche, in order to protect itself, will actually shut down and bottle up certain things, and then we're no longer conscious of it or no longer aware of it. So I don't know if you've ever had too much to drink one night and then you woke up the next day and you had no memory of what you were doing. You know, you were awake and you were doing things, but you have no memory of what you were doing, okay? Another thing is, you hear. Your ears never stop working. You're always listening. And yet when you fall asleep at night, your brain just decides to like shut down all the noise and you don't remember what you heard. So it is very much so a function of your psyche, of your brain, to bottle things up, and they seem invisible as if they never happened, and yet they do and can influence you. Sometimes they're considered autonomous little beasties. So if you let them out of the bottle, you might not know that they're running free without you. Like driving your car one day and suddenly you end up somewhere and you're like, who drove me here? I wanted to take a left and I took a right. That would be kind of akin to like almost a sense of being possessed. So if you are not in connection with some of these feelings and emotions within you, perhaps because they are too painful, which is completely legitimate, they can be too painful sometimes. So you need to seek support of a therapist. The tarot is a wonderful tool for doing that. Set aside time to try and invite and connect to these energies, because if you are feeling drained, like this card suggests, it can be because the psyche is spending a lot of energy containing and dividing things off for you. So this one in the unconscious, which we got in the reading, is the Seven of Pentacles. So notice she's kind of like opening up the book. And if you think about your mind as your own, as a book, and you're kind of like going back through and opening up and learning more about yourself. So that's a good message as advice to come through regarding that, this transition and this time period and the unconscious mind and all the work that we do to try and keep the rainbow bridge, if you would, or the connections between our conscious and our unconscious minds together so that we can live happy, vital lives, putting our energy where it wants to go, not putting our energy at blocking out things, avoiding things, resisting things. All right. This next deck is Messages from the Mermaids by Karen Kay. She also has done a few other decks, like fairies, for example, and she's fun to follow on Instagram. She's from Australia, I believe. And the author and the artist are two different people. The artwork is by Linda Olson. And I definitely, these kinds of drawings have been growing on me. They're growing on me. Okay, so this one is re-energize. Re-energize. So, hello. This would be like a nice, obvious continuation from the last one with the little beasties. So the advice being in a safe place with the right people and support that you need to help you bridge perhaps some walls and barriers within your own mind. As you do that, you will be re-energizing yourself. You'll be on the way to revitalization. So let's see. What is her suggestion for re-energize? She says, make time to re-energize. You may feel like you've been running on empty, so get back on track and charge your batteries. When we give too much of ourselves, we can feel drained. Maybe this is how you or someone close to you is feeling now. This mermaid says to be mindful of how you're spending your energy. Focus on yourself and do whatever makes you feel good so you can feel energized once again. Perhaps a swim or a paddle in the sea, a luxurious bath, or a pampered day at a spa is the tonic you need. There are many ways to re-energize, and you need to do this as soon as possible so you can get back to feeling like your vibrant and effervescent self once more. It's also a good idea to look at why you're feeling drained. Perhaps you're spending your time and energy where it's not fully appreciated or respected. To work it out, go back over the day's events and notice how you feel as you remember what you did and who you spent time with. If you've been feeling overly tired, you could also look at the food you're eating, making sure you're having a balanced, healthy diet. This will also give you more energy. Your body will give you subtle and not so subtle signals about what you need to do to feel re-energized. When we spend time with people who drain our energy, this can make us feel lackluster. Take notice of how you feel when you're around certain people. Do you feel energized or drained? So that's a good one. And I would put an asterisk next to that one, which is to say, you are also many people in your head. So you also kind of notice like what personality is coming out. And like I said, you can have those autopilot personalities or things, so just in case you're like not spending time with a lot of people like me, don't forget that sometimes that could be your own personalities. Okay, the next one is the Oceanic Wild Oracle by Tiffany Souza, and I love this deck because it has this beautiful rainbow, and the backs of the cards have that too. So, from bottling up beasties or letting out the beasties to re-energizing ourselves, what is the next oracle advice card that we have for the new moon in Aquarius? And we got, oh my gosh, Untamed. Untamed. I said, oh my gosh, because I have I've been thinking about unicorns. They're like, I don't know. I guess we all have that inner child inside of us. And so that my inner child likes mermaids and unicorns and fairies and magical creatures. And so now we have like kind of like a seahorse unicorn hybrid here, which is Untamed. Now, the cool thing about horses, if you haven't worked with animal symbology very much, and a seahorse unicorn, I think, would be basically like that, like a horse symbol, is that it really just represents freedom. Like horses just represent freedom. So I think that's part of what's happening for us as we move into the age of Aquarius is like new kinds of freedom, you know, like moving my body a little bit, because I think of that when I think of freedom. Like I think of like freedom, like there's just kind of like there's a physicality to it, and the horse is like galloping through the meadow, kind of a feeling. So yeah, so that's definitely like when you're re-energized, all of a sudden you're in your more natural state and you're like, I want to run through fields. My energy is back up. So that's cool. Let's see what the cards have to say. We can validate my my intuition here, if it's on point. Of course, the people that write these books, this one is like by Tiffany, they spend a lot of time coming up with very insightful comments. So I can share some of that. So its keywords are freedom, reclaiming your power, assertion, determination, willpower, and wild. Untamed is a hippocampus or mer horse, standing against adversity to stay free. Untamed wants you to face whatever comes your way. You are in control of your own life, not anyone else's. You're free to make your own choices. It may be time to reclaim your power. Reversed means, well, we didn't get a reversed card. So, yay! Let's reclaim our untapped power. I love it. Wild and free, like the horse. Okay, how can this possibly get any better? I don't know, but there's one more. There's one more deck I brought out, so we will see what the last piece of advice is from this one. This one just popped right out. Should I just go with the one that popped right out of the top? Well, we'll take it as a bonus, and I'll pull one more just in case there's an extra message. But this is Lemuria Returns, Earthly Spirituality, Community, and Ocean Conservation. So yeah, I like this one as I like this one as the overall card as well, with the world. You know, this idea of the mother is a great idea, of a great image representing this kind of transition, because her, not that the mother's life is ending, but you know, it's a combination of like the end of her life as not being a mother, you know, like once the child is born, it's from one person to two people, and then those two people kind of represent, you know, the child represents the new beginning, that fool energy, like the child's got to learn everything all over again, and the mother being that world energy of like, you know, or if we're talking about it as the old age of Pisces and the new age of Aquarius, there's that feeling, mother-child feeling. Okay, so that was a nice card. Okay, this is the real last one. I mean, I could pull cards all day, but if you've made it this far in the reading, congratulations. This last message will probably be super sweet. Oh, so sisterhood, friendship, allies, compatible souls, loyalty, joy, and delight. So this one has a special little meaning for me because I do gather with my dragonfly gold prosperity alchemist sisters on the new moon, and I've been doing that since I think this is the 4th year. This is our 4th year, and this card is 41, so that's kind of nice. So let me see what this last message is from our guidebook for sisterhood. The mermaids sing. We mermaids are so often like sisters. We are raised with each other and we bond closely to each other. We create friendships that comfort, guide, stretch, and inspire us. We have an enormous family and we are rarely lonely because of this tendency to live in clan-like groups. Because we see no division between us and the sea creatures, we often form very close bonds with dolphins, turtles, and even quiet small things. When we come to you in the form of this card, we wish you to know that soon you will find your clan. There will be new friendships for you that feel like family, and some of your friendships you have formed in the past may become less strong and fall away gently and peacefully. You are changing yourself and becoming more true to who you are at this time, and we applaud this. One of the side effects of this authenticity and truthfulness and embracing of your own self is that those who feel they know you may begin to question whether you were being yourself. In time, know that new friendships you are know that you are stitching together new friendships with close bonds, and their weaving is deep and strong, and there will be flexibility and understanding between you. There will be a sense of coming home with these new friends, and in this sisterhood, will mean there is a sense of community. Your isolation may ease profoundly. So please do not look out. So please do look out for opportunities to make new friends, be open and welcoming, and give people some space, some time. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to knit and bond with beautiful souls who we will be helping you meet. It is time for you to find your family and to feel the support of your sisters, your brothers, your kin. You are not alone, and you are so very worth loving. So that is also very nice in terms of the star and the age of Aquarius, because many people have said Aquarius is very much so about community. So, but it's also like I said, the star is like distant. So it's kind of like community at a distance. So in some ways, the pandemic forcing us to find community online at a distance, the fact that we can use technology to help us search and find like-minded people all across the internet, and create friendships with people who have shared interests and who share our priorities, and we create all these like smaller clusters of individuals, and all of us are like working on the things that matter most of all to us, and so like everything's getting taken care of, and these groups are forming, and we have more community, and there's more acceptance, and there's more abundance, and there's more love and offerings and all of those things. So I do feel like that was a nice final message, that Page of Cups, because what was the last word that they said? You are worth loving, or something like that. I felt like it was a very specifically to that future card that I was talking about. So it says, yes, you are not alone. You are so very worth loving. So I think that's the final message for this new moon reading in Aquarius. I hope you are well, and good luck with this transition. That's a lot going on with the new moon. And if you have any comments down below, my pages, I monitor them, and I want to keep the comments high and inspiring and positive. So any feedback you have for me, I'm always trying to improve what it is that I'm doing to create something that's meaningful for you, and your comments could help someone else as well. So please share any ideas or feedback that you have for the collective, and I will see you